Hey folks, welcome back to Gaming Garbage, where we take a look at games, chat about the gaming news in the industry, and of course, stream for fun. Today we're taking a look at Summer GameFest 2024. I worked on covering this last year on my channel, and I would say this one is actually a little better. Overall, it's a faster pace. We got to see some new announcements for games, though most of these were kind of indie or like A or double A titles. We also got to see a lot of cinematic trailers though, and not a lot of gameplay for this type of stuff, which I feel like it was less gameplay than last year. So we'll get into basically the main ones that were announced, which still there's quite a few. There's like 20 of these, and then I'm gonna have my final thoughts at the end of the showcase, and then my rating. And this is basically to consolidate it. The whole showcase was 2 hours. So thanks for tuning in, guys. And we'll go ahead and get started right into this. So this will basically be in chronological order. And again, this isn't going to cover everything. This is more going to cover the bigger ones or double A ones. And I'm going to go over my thoughts of each one. So the first one we got to see was Lego Star Wars. This was holidays of 2024. This is PS5, Nintendo Switch, Steam, and Epic Store. No Xbox. And multiplayer is definitely in mind when they were designing this. I mean, again, it's a Lego game, but I definitely think this would be a better Lego game to play. A lot of it is kind of the same feel of like Jurassic Park or Harry Potter or Star Wars or whatever. Maybe not quite the level of as Star Wars Skywalker Saga. That one is actually a really good one for Lego games. But it's going to follow the Horizon storyline. We don't know exactly how much. We didn't necessarily get to see that. We did get to see a little bit of gameplay, which was nice. And then this is designed with split screen, as well as multiplayer online, so you can play with your buddies and stuff, which is nice, or your kids or whatever. And so that was kind of cool. So that was kind of a fun way to start the showcase. Next, we got to see No More Room in Hell 2. This is PC. This is going to be early access in Halloween of 2024. It's going to be an 8-player co-op game, and it's from the makers of Chivalry 2. Now, if you've never played Chivalry, basically that's a medieval first-person swinger. I'll put it that way. And honestly, they're pretty fun. The first one was a good kind of indie game, which I think was like a max of like 20 or 25 bucks. Chivalry 2 is out now, and I think this one is like 40. I think this is $40. Chivalry 2 has been out for a while. It is also on Game Pass if you wish to try it. So they make usually pretty good games, and they've shown innovation and improvements so far, which I think is great. The maps are going to be quite large for No More Room in Hell 2. And this is going to be focused around like kind of your Left 4 Dead or like your zombies or Dead Island. It's going to have that feel to it. The art style is a little toned down. It's not going to be like hyper detailed or super detailed or anything. I don't believe it would really matter if it was in 4K or not. It does look like it will probably be in 4K, but again, we didn't see really any gameplay in this one, just cinematics. Next, we got to see Harry Potter Quidditch Champions. So this is a new game. This was kind of touted around a little bit of maybe an addition, and then eventually it was like, well, maybe we can just do a whole separate game off of this, and basically sell that as like a full premium game. And again, this is just Quidditch, nothing else really exciting about this. And this is going to be September 3rd of this year, all platforms, and this is going to be available day one on PlayStation Plus. Now, this I thought was very interesting, the day one of PlayStation Plus. This won't be day one on Game Pass, but you will be able to buy it on Xbox. And so now we're starting to get into this competition. Sony is now coming onto the table of like, hey, we need to actually bring something day one to PlayStation Plus, because used to be PlayStation Plus and Premium used to be mostly paying for like a backwards compatibility list, and now they're starting to add day one stuff for third party, which I think is great. I think competition is always good, and it helps our open market stay healthy. And without competition, we just have monopolies, and it's not usually best for us as consumers in the long run. And it's yeah, competition breeds cheaper and better and more innovative stuff for us. But yeah, this one honestly looked pretty good. Again, the graphics don't look amazing. Most of this was cinematic trailer, but it did look like we get to see some actual gameplay. But it was maybe a little tough to tell which was which exactly. But I think some gameplay was actually put in there for us to see. Star Wars Outlaws was next. And this was actually a new trailer. So Star Wars Outlaws has already been promoted quite a bit. Okay, we've seen it on our home screens. We've seen it on YouTube. We've seen it on other ads. It's been heavily promoted. And, of course, you can always have Ubisoft subscription service. You can get that day one for like $17 or $18 a month. I forget which. But during the trailer, we got to see some frame rate issues. But again, there's really nothing new being brought to the table that I could tell. A lot of it is basically the same, but we got to see some more, or some more of the open world aspects of the game, some more of kind of scenery and animals being fleshed out. We got to see a little bit more of the factions and the smuggling in the game, some of the space exploration. So we got to see some more of this, but again, it's like I was not overly hyped or excited for this. I am excited overall for the game, but they've already been showing this so much. There's not much new excitement for me than what I already have. This is Star Wars Outlaws is also the game that you guys voted for in January of this year, of the game that you guys wanted to see on the channel. So I'll be buying this at launch and playing it for you guys and showcasing it. I will also be buying the narrative or story DLC. There's going to be 2 of them that will be coming out later, probably toward the end of the year for the first one, and then the second one will probably be in 2025, and I'll be showing it all. So thank you guys for voting. If you want to vote for next year's, stay tuned for January. Next, we got to see Civilization 7. This will be 2025. Oh, Star Wars Outlaws, by the way, is the end of August. I think it's the 26th. Next, we got to see Civilization 7. This will be 2025. We got a full reveal. There will be a full reveal in the summertime. We didn't even really get to see any gameplay. Again, we got to see another cinematic trailer of working through all of the kind of different ages that your civilization can go through. And I think a lot of it will be kind of the more of the same, but we need to see more than just a kind of teaser, like long teaser or reveal trailer. There will be more to see later in the year. I don't exactly know what showcase it's going to be a part of. We literally have Xbox in a couple of days, and I think we have Ubisoft in 3 days. And do I think they're going to have their own showcase? No, I don't think so. So I don't know exactly when during this summer, because this was Summer GameFest, when they're going to showcase this. Maybe they're just going to release it on their own like YouTube channel and other social media profiles. I don't know. We'll have to see. But we didn't really see any innovation in the trailer. Again, it's Civilization 7's. You know, we did get someone from, it looked like one of the leads at the studios, or at the studio of Civilization 7, you know, thanking the players, talking about their being excited, thanking the team for working on the game, and we're going to hear more at a later time. Next, we got to see Black Myth. We finally have a release date of August 20th. So this is going to be just before Star Wars Outlaws, and I think this is going to be a bigger one. I think people are going to be excited for it. But this is also just going to be a couple of months after the release of Shadow of the Erdtree. So, are people still going to be playing Shadow of the Erdtree? I don't know. This will be kind of, might have to sneeze, folks. Excuse me. I got allergies. So yeah, Black Myth will be a couple of months after Shadow of the Erdtree, which I think is a good idea. And we did get to see, again, another cinematic trailer. There was no gameplay. We haven't seen gameplay in like a year now. I want to say we got to see some during Summer GameFest last year, but this game was also delayed. We had a lot of kind of quiet delays. Games that were supposed to come out in 23 or even 24, and there just hasn't been very much. And so we actually got a lot of release dates during this showcase, which was nice. But Black Myth, again, it's a game that I'm excited for. Very Elden Ringy, a very Dark Souls. And, man, my nose, folks. It's brutal. But yeah, we got to see too that there's going to be a collector's edition. So this is something that interests you. Definitely take a look into that. But yeah, again, no gameplay. And I really wish they had shown at least something. Because cinematics is not enough for me anymore. For a lot of us, we've also been burned in the by the gaming industry and by publishers trying to represent something that's not entirely accurate. And so gameplay is huge. And we're even getting to a point where like streamers and YouTubers and stuff that have pretty big channels is that in a way they also get benefits and payoffs for hyping up a game maybe a little bit more than it should be. Whether it's through money or whether it's through, closed beta codes or something like that, or the next game in the future, whatever. And here on the channel, I will always keep it genuine and honest. I never want to be a channel that lives in fear of just kind of being paid off and just presenting something that's not accurate. I wish things to be accurate, and that's why I do this channel. That's why I have one. So, yeah, we'll have to see with Black Myth. Hopefully we'll see a little bit more. But yeah, with just a few months away, no gameplay yet. It's kind of concerning. We could maybe expect a delay off of this one, and this is a game I am excited for. But yeah, we'll have to see. We also got to see, again, some more of Space Marine 2. Again, really nothing new here. This will be September 9th of this year. The biggest thing is like 3-player co-op. There's also going to be PvP where there's like, 2 teams against each other, 3v3 basically. And we weren't expecting 3-player co-op. We weren't expecting PvP arena mode. And the fact that we'll be getting these would be cool, but we already know about this. So again, Summer GameFest was... We didn't really need to be in there, I didn't feel like. But Space Marine 2 does look good. Next, we got to see Metaphor. So these are from the creators, directors of Persona. So again, they have a very specific art style, and it's definitely there in Metaphor. And it does look pretty good as a JRPG, if I'm saying that correctly. If I'm not, please correct me in the comments. But it does look like a pretty well-rounded based game, again, where there's archetypes. You're trying to flesh that out with different characters that you run across in the game and that become a part of your party. This is going to be October 11th of 2024. We also did already see or hear about this already. And there was quite a few, from the looks of it, quite a few cinematics again. But we did actually get to see a little bit of gameplay of like menus and some of the characters and what the art style is going to be. And so that was actually nice to see. Next, we're going to see Batman Arkham Shadows, which is just a VR game, unfortunately. And you could tell some people in the audience were pretty excited. There was like Batman Arkham series, woo! There was a few people. I think the rest of them already knew. And then when they said that it's Shadows, that it's for the MetaQuest, just all of the woohooing and cheering just immediately died. There's nobody longer interested. Again, the MetaQuest hasn't sold very well. Apple goggles or whatever hasn't sold very well either. They're also cutting back production. And then even the Sony PlayStation VR. And for Sony, it's so bad that they're trying to now make the PlayStation VR compatible with MetaQuest and Steam because, again, there's just not enough demand there. PlayStation VR 2 looks like there's going to cut production in half, as well as Apple goggles or the Apple headset. And then MetaQuest hasn't sold well either. So again, VR is there, but we don't have true full gaming experiences yet that we can get through a TV. And so the technology has got to go a little further, and the devs have to push it a little harder. But yeah, it's just frustrating. I really enjoy VR for what it is. I think it is an amazing technology. I'll be super stoked in my lifetime when we finally get there. But I still think it'll be a while. So too bad, though, we're we got Suicide Squad instead of Batman Arkham. Seriously, frustrating. Next, we got to see Delta Force Hawk Ops. So this is going to be done in 2 parts. And I actually saw an independent trailer that was bigger than what they showed. If you want to watch it on YouTube, you can. I'll remember to link it in the description if I remember. But Delta Force Hawk Ops is going to be a free-to-play, multiplayer extraction shooter. The other aspect of it is that it's going to be a paid campaign. The campaign is roughly going to be about 6 hours. And the campaign is going to focus on the Black Hawk Down event and be based off of what was shown in the movie. So if you really enjoyed the movie growing up in the 2000s, the campaign is going to be built off of that, built off of inspiration from the true events that actually happened. And that's what I really miss about the first-person shooters, is that nowadays they're not really based off of actual events. And this is why I fell in love with like Medal of Honor and Call of Duty, is because we got to see these events unfold. And like for me, it was all World War II stuff, something that my grandpa was a part of. Both of my grandpas, one in the European theater and one in the Pacific, and that's what got me so enticed with Call of Duty, was just like seeing what people actually saw and did during the war, and just in awe of them, and just amazed at what happened in the carnage and chaos, and just I think it's important to remember parts of history like that, to remember parts of history of what really happened, and to learn the lessons that they hadn't before, to learn from history. And I think video games are a great way to remind folks, hey, this is brutal, this is awful, this is there's a ton of stuff in war. And I think it's great that Delta Force is kind of bringing that back, where it's like, look, this was a piece of history, this is kind of the events that unfolded. And if you haven't seen the movie, wonderful movie, by the way. They do a pretty good job of showing the events that happened, which is just utter chaos. But yeah, we don't know how much the campaign is going to cost, but graphically, it looked good. Again, this is not going to be for Call of Duty players, and this is not, I would say, even like X-Defiant. If you think of like the old Battlefields before they had dates attached to them, that's the kind of style of gameplay you can expect. Like Battlefield 2 or Battlefield 3, dude, it looks good. It looks good. I'm actually excited to try this since it's free to play for the extraction shooter, as far as I know. I definitely want to play this. I'm excited. Next, we got to see Mecha Break. This is going to be a closed beta in August of this year. So if you're interested, go ahead and look them up and sign up. It does look like pretty fast-paced action. We can probably expect some form of Armored Core 6. And I'm not sure if this is going to be mech PvP combat or PvE or both. That wasn't necessarily clear. It wasn't like a massive trailer. There was a little bit of gameplay in there, it looked like, which was nice, but again, a lot of cinematics. And that's what we saw a lot in these games, was just a lot of cinematic stuff. But yeah, closed beta in August. We'll probably hear more about this around holidays this year, or it might even be out in 2025. There was no official release date. Let's see. Next, this one surprised me. So Blumhouse, they're known for their horror movies, right? Well, they're going to be getting into video games. And they're not just shifting away from movies. They're still working on movies, but they're branching out now into video games. And they're not just like branching out a little bit. Okay, they're kind of branching out pretty hardcore. So they're having a new kind of division as part of their company that's going to focus on indie development, giving people a platform to be able to use. And I think that's actually really cool. Again, this was something that was touted with PlayStation 4 and Xbox One with Sony and Microsoft, saying like, hey, we're giving a platform for indie developers. And I was actually all really excited about that. And we've gotten some wonderful indie games. We've also gotten a lot of indie games now that have kind of flooded the market, and it's hard to muddle through them all. And I think, too, it's also just possible to miss some of the great ones out there, because, again, there's so many indie games. But yeah, they're going to be another platform to be able to kind of branch off of. So if you're interested or thinking of making a game in the near future, or it's currently in development, I would see if Blumhouse, excuse me, could actually help you out. And they want to focus on horror games. Okay, they're not branching out outside of horror; they're sticking with that. But they're going to continue to make movies, and they're going to start allowing being a platform for indie developers. So that's actually really cool. They showcase multiple games. And they kind of want a swath to support. And something they mentioned too on stage was they actually like the idea of supporting indie developers because one is creating a platform that's very hard to break into as an industry for gaming. They want to make it a little easier for the little guy, which is awesome. But also they said too it's smaller budgets and it's also less risk, so they can kind of push innovation. They can see what's touted to them, and they can pick ones that maybe would be a little risky, but on a smaller scale. And so the risk of the game failing is not as big of a deal as, let's say, Suicide Squad. So that's kind of cool. They did say that they're still working on Five Nights at Freddy's 2. That will be coming out later, and now we can actually expect games to come out. I do wonder if later in the future we're actually going to see kind of their own showcase. Which again, we don't need another showcase, folks. Like we're getting to the point where we're seeing Sony and Microsoft at least twice a year. We're seeing each major publisher once a year. Then we also have Summer GameFest, and then the Game Awards with Jeff Keighley, and then we have all of the indie developer stuff too, like Day of the Devs. I mean, this is just getting insane. Like there's over a dozen now every single year, like a dozen kind of big to mid ones, and good golly, it's just getting nuts. I will cover PlayStation, Nintendo, I will cover Xbox, and I will cover Game Fest and Game Awards every year. I might be shooting myself in the foot, but we'll see. Hopefully not. Next, we get to see Kingdom Deliverance 2. Again, we've already seen some trailers on this. This was felt more of an extended one, which was nice. Or maybe both of the trailers that we've seen kind of put together to telling a little bit more of a story, showing some of the innovation in the game. And this is going to be 2024 of this year. This is coming to Xbox, PlayStation, Series X, PS5, and PC. And it looks like a total overhaul for the game. So I don't know if they redid it in a different engine or what, but I mean, we're talking about total improvements graphically in the game. We're talking too about mechanical improvements and revamps from stuff that was in the first one and making it better and improving it and adding features to the second one. We're also adding like a wider range of weapons. There's also like sieges and stuff like this. Like this looks great. It really does. Like this is exciting. And yeah, the game honestly looks good. We can expect, of course, is this going to be like a AAA type of game or feel, so we can expect a $70 price tag, in my opinion. And yeah, sometime in 2024. So probably just before the holidays is my guess. And yeah, if you like medieval, this one will probably be a must for you. Next, we're going to see The Last Descendant. Now, this is coming out July 2nd, all platforms besides Switch, and also past-gen stuff. Now, I'm excited for this one because this was expressed last year as a free-to-play game, and it'll be a live service, but it'll be kind of more like, not necessarily, well, maybe kind of like an MMO. It's got kind of an MMO feel, Destiny 2 feel with like the tech and the sci-fi stuff. And there's going to be some different classes or characters. You could even think of this as maybe like an Anthem kind of style of game, as like there's different suits. More will be explained, I'm sure. And again, the trailer was, again, very cinematic. Some gameplay, which was nice. Or no, actually, this had no gameplay, which was frustrating. Again, we've had multiple trailers where we've seen gameplay before, just like Black Myth, Wukong Fallen Dynasty. But it's like, you know, or Black Myth, no, it doesn't sound right. Wukong Fallen Dynasty is another game. But anyway, you get what I'm saying. We have multiple trailers that are just cinematics. And with some of these games coming out literally within like a month or two, we don't have any gameplay. And either the gameplay is so incredible and amazing, I can't tell, or it's just not there. And I'm leaning toward that it's just not there. So I'm kind of curious why that's happening. But yeah, Last Descendant is going to be an open world. There's going to be some missions. There's going to be boss fights or raids, teamwork oriented. And two, with this being across all platforms besides Switch, I'm hoping this can be a game too that I can play with some of you guys, and we can actually play through Discord. That would be great. I do have a Discord. It's not just to mingle and chat with those on the channel, but it's also just for those to find others to play with, regardless of game, regardless of platform. Shameless plug there. But yeah, this will be a co-op looter shooter. So yeah, it does look good. It does look interesting. Again, I think the monetization is going to be crazy, especially if this is a free-to-play game. But yeah, apparently July 2nd, so we're going to be getting it soon. Across everything, even past-gen stuff. We did get to see that we're going to have an Among Us TV show. Cartoon. So I'm not exactly sure how they're going to do that for a TV show. With the gameplay, I think it's great as a game. As a TV show, I don't know if that can keep my interest very long. For the bad guy, the imposter, it's going to be an alien on the ship. And so far, that's basically what we know. Also, we got to see Sonic Shadow Generations Collection. This will be coming out on October 25. This will be available on all consoles, including the Switch. This will also be on past-gen hardware. And we're going to get 2 games. And again, they look nice, they look fun. If you're super into Sonic, I would suggest looking into this or waiting for this to come out again October 25th. And we actually got to see gameplay on this. Most of it actually was gameplay, which was nice. Next, we got to see Battle Aces. Now, we got to see a new startup studio that's going to focus on RTS with a twist. And I was kind of excited about this. This is called, again, Battle Aces. And it's an RTS with a deck of cards. I'm not even kidding. I was kind of hoping it would be a little more than that. We just knew that it was going to be a real-time strategy with kind of a new innovation on it, but a deck of cards is not new innovation. So how exactly they set up the cards, it looked like the cards were certain units or kind of like certain abilities or certain events that happen maybe, and that all happens real-time while you're playing and trying to win, like a Command and Conquer type of style or Supreme Commander style of real-time strategy. So it did look good. The gameplay did look good. Okay, there's different units, there's different factions and stuff. So there definitely is something there, but I just didn't like the fact that there's cards involved in the game that's going to like manipulate and change my gameplay. I would rather just work through crap, right? Build stuff up, shove my units out there, and just crush them on the map, right? That's kind of my style. But we don't know exactly how this is going to be implemented because we didn't really see it in gameplay. There's also no release date that I remember seeing. So yeah, we'll have to see. The little cartoon trailer that they had, it looked great. It looked amazing. So if they ever wanted to do a TV show, I definitely think they could do that. They'd have to build up the lore and stuff in order to be able to have a TV show, but I definitely think that would be a possibility. Next, we got to see Alan Wake 2. We got to hear that we're going to be getting physical editions, the deluxe and the collectors, which is nice. I think it's nice that if a game does well enough, we get physical copies of the game. This was also happening with Larian Studios. They didn't have physical copies right away, but they did so freaking good on their game. They're like, hey, we're going to make physical copies. Frick yeah, man. Rock on. That's wonderful. I'm glad to see that studios are taking a tune to that. They also see a money opportunity there for those that want physical copies, and I think it's really nice that they're doing this. So again, if there's money in it, folks, we get physical copies, which is nice. If there's no money in it, like some of the microtransactions in live service, they're not going to make it, right? They're not going to make it. So we do have voting power, folks. We do have a voice, but we got to do it en masse. That's the thing we have to remember. And if there's something you don't like about the gaming industry, vote with your money. Don't pre-order. Buy it at a discount. Or don't buy it at all. Okay, there's things you can do to let your voice be heard, and I suggest that we all do that. So, especially for those of us that are older, that remember the 2000s, that remember the 90s, we should vote with our money. And we're not the only voting space in the gaming industry, but our voice is still pretty big, and we should continue to use it. Next, we got to see Dark and Darker. This will be on Steam and Epic, and it's out now, as far as I could tell. And this is also free to play. Now, Dark and Darker has had some pretty brutal development. It's had to go through some lawsuits. But the game honestly looks fun. This is like a medieval dungeon crawler of PvP, PvE. So there's people in there, other players, and there's also environmental hazards, and then there's also NPCs and enemies and stuff. So honestly, I do want to try this. I do have a computer that should be able to run this, and I want to stream it for you guys sometime on the channel. It does have like a first-person Skyrim feel to the game. And again, I do think it's going to be quite difficult. I don't think it's going to be for everybody, but but yeah, it does look fun. And I'm glad that this has finally been able to come out. Since it is free to play, I'm curious how the game is monetized, how they're making money on this. Maybe with some of the lawsuit stuff, they just decided to make it free so that they could put it out there as a passion project. I don't know. I'm going to have to do some research on that. But yeah, I do eventually want to do this later this year and show it to you guys on the channel. Next, we got to see Hyper Light Breaker. Now, this is a game we got to see again last year. Just a snippet of it. Kind of a Borderlands Hi-Fi Rush art style. And we got to find out this time with a gameplay trailer, which was really nice, that 3-player co-op, and it's open world. Pretty big open world. Excuse me as I have hiccups. And so, yeah, if you're looking for a game that's 3-player, open world style, kind of like more of an arcadey, something to do relaxing with your buddies, or something kind of mindless in a way, I would take a look at this one. That's, there's still going to be some boss fights, there's still going to be some exploration in the game, and that definitely scratches an itch for some people. So this would be one that I would check out. This is a smaller game. This is not some crazy AAA title. Okay, this would be like more A or AA, and it does look good. So keep an eye out for that one. Next, we got to see Skate on console. No release date. They did say that they're working on it, and then they added the word still, dropped down into the sentence, still working on it. So there is a Skate game coming. It will eventually get here, but that was all the information that we got on that so far. Next, we got to see Pal World. I'm going to screw this up. Sakurajima update. I did the best I could. This is June 27th. We're going to get a new island. There's also going to be like an oil rig stronghold, or maybe that's the same thing, but new island to explore would be great. Oil rig stronghold would be wonderful, and honestly, it looked pretty crazy on the oil rig. Pretty chaotic. We're also going to be getting some new pals, and we're also going to get a PvP arena, which looks wonderful. Yeah, and this is just an update, but it looks pretty large. With some of the announcement stuff that we got earlier, I think we're getting like 4 new pals for the game. Nothing crazy, but we are getting new pals. We are getting new places to explore. I imagine they will also give some improvements to the game. And then we'll probably see like a new raid with some of these updates that we get through Pal World, and new and kind of like new strongholds to deal with. So that's cool. Honestly, this update looks pretty good, and in fact, as far as I can tell, the update's free. Imagine that, the update's free. Next, we got to see Monster Hunter Wilds again. This is going to be 2025. We got to see a new trailer again this time. There will be another new trailer in August, so they're pushing this pretty hard. They're actually showing a lot of the game, because we got a new trailer literally just like, I want to say a month ago or a couple of months ago. with March. Or was it May? One of the two. It's all blending together for me, folks. Life is busy. But we got a new trailer with Summer GameFest, and then they did say at the end that we are going to get a new trailer in August. So we're going to see a lot of the game. I don't know how much exactly we're going to see or what we're going to see. But again, we just got to see more environments. We got to see kind of like longer strips of gameplay for this trailer. And yeah, 2025. They are really hyping up this one. I think they know this one is going to sell well. And they'll probably make a good chunk of money on this. But boy, the servers better not be messed up. The game better not be buggy. They better do a good job. I think the gaming industry, the player base, has fatigue setting in for a lot of these AAA games messing up and being a mess and not meeting expectations. And I think the publishers in the industry are paying attention. At least some of them are. And so yeah, I am excited about this one. This will be a pretty big one in 2025. I think the other really big one in 2025 is going to be GTA 6, which we didn't see anything at all for GTA 6 during this one, which I thought was interesting. Next, we got to see Phantom Blade Zero. No release date. I'm guessing likely 2025. It does look pretty well put together, and this is a Wulong Fallen Dynasty Sekiro type of style of gameplay with, like, you know, Japan, China, Korea, that type of style of and era. It does look extremely difficult. Very detailed and brutal looking. So again, if you're into kind of the Dark Souls, the Elden Ring, if you're excited for Black Myth, Phantom Blade Zero is going to be another good one. This is just going to be on PlayStation. And I think this one too will likely be on PC. PlayStation is branching out into the PC, and they're ensuring that they're competing with Microsoft in that space. And again, I think competition is good. And us as gamers, we're going to eat better because of it. So my final thoughts on the whole showcase. Hopefully this hasn't been going on too long. But my whole thoughts on the showcase is we got 11 kind of new bigger to medium-sized games announced that we'd never seen before, which was nice. We did get a lot of cinematic trailers, not a lot of gameplay, which was frustrating. And again, I think a lot of us have been so burned in the industry that we actually need to see gameplay and see some of the mechanics of the game and how it runs. And even there were a couple of trailers in this one during the Summer Game Fest where there were some frame rate issues. Again, not very long, just bleep, blink and you miss it kind of stuff. But there were some frame rate issues in some of these games, which is kind of concerning. Seeing how they're even coming out either like this year or scheduled for 2025. So, and we've already seen plenty of AAAs have, roughly a year to polish these games, and they still come out like crap. And or they're just totally broken, so they don't even meet expectations at all. So I still think we should have a grain of salt, because again, the cinematics do not tell us what the game is like. Or even how it runs. We gotta see gameplay, and hopefully we see more of that with a lot of these. Some of the teaser trailers had no release dates, which I thought too was interesting. So 2026? Usually at least you can tell if your game is kind of gonna get polished up and a few little last things finished for at least the next year, but some of these again didn't even have a release date. So yeah, maybe 2026, which is kind of crazy. Like, we're getting to a point where a lot of these announcements are coming out more in advance, and then we're kind of getting down to the wire, and then when it's showcased, it's like, oh, it's out now, or it's out in a month, or it's out in 2 or 3 months. And so we kind of have this gap where the gaming industry's having trouble getting things out on time, and so they're like leaving that wiggle room. So they announce the game early to get us excited for it, and then sometimes there's oversaturation of trailers, and so we kind of lose some of that hype. And then finally, when it does come out, it's like, oh yeah, it's coming out pretty shortly, and we don't have to wait too long. So it didn't used to be that way. Usually, like 6 months out, they knew when the they had a release date, and we kind of don't. Yeah, we kind of don't have that right now. The industry's struggling. Some of the stuff announcements were just updates to games that were already out, or announcing collector's editions, that kind of thing. And so that was interesting. We didn't used to have that either. So again, when some of these games become successful as digital, they're going to make these physical copies, which I am glad for that. But I'm not sure if they really deserve a space with like Summer GameFest. I'm more excited to see games that are being announced or showing extended gameplay trailers, kind of the hypier, bigger stuff. That's what I'm excited for. That's what I'm there for. But just hearing that the game's going to have a physical release, okay, cool. If they want to spend their money on that, that's great. But I'm not overly excited for that type of stuff. Something that's crazy too, quick fact, I got to see that for a minute of time on the show, Summer Game Fest was 2 hours. It cost $250,000 a minute. Think of that. $250,000 a minute. And Jeff Keighley really didn't waste a lot of time on talking or whatever. I'm sure too that this also covers stage time. $250K for stage time maybe? That's insane. So some of these companies, they spent a lot of money, getting close to like $500K just to showcase their stuff. Luckily, not as expensive as like the Super Bowl or whatever, but a lot of us are going to be watching the Summer Showcase, at least for the main channel, the Game Awards channel, Jeff Keighley's. There was probably about 250,000 of us that were watching, at least that I saw. Before I wasn't paying attention anymore. Overall, some of the stuff that I kind of expected to see, we didn't see anything of. But again, we don't know if some of the games that we're kind of waiting for are going to show up on Xbox, or some of it too was touted more on PlayStation. We kind of saw that last year, where PlayStation and Xbox had their own showcases, of course, but they also put on stuff with Summer Game Fest, so we got to see it like twice over. We also got to see that more kind of with Ubisoft Showcase as well, where it's like, okay, we got to see Summer Game Fest, and we're seeing this again, like with Mirage, right? But I think we're seeing less of that this time. I think the showcases are trying to be more exclusive in what they're showing and how they're showing and what they're announcing. And so, for PlayStation folks, it'd be good to see the PlayStation Showcase. Same for Xbox folks. Watch the showcase. So Summer Game Fest is now competing. They're not using the showcases just to continuously promote a product. It's now that some of those products and announcements are now becoming exclusive to those specific showcases. And so Jeff Keighley is going to lose out on that a little bit. He's going to lose out a little bit on that money. He's probably going to show more indie stuff like he did this year. There's a lot of indie stuff this year. And we'll probably expect that too for summer, for the Game Awards. So I just think that's interesting. That's an interesting shift. Companies and publishers are trying to utilize and best use the bang for their buck to have their own showcase to get people excited for the games that they want to announce. So we got to see that with PlayStation already. Xbox is literally in a couple of days. I'll have that here on the channel. So stay tuned for that. There are 11 games total that I'm excited for. Between basically now, like Dark and Darker, all the way to probably 2026. So let me read all of these I'm excited for. And these are just me personally. Some of you guys might be excited for these, and some of you may not. And hey, that's okay. That's okay. We can have our preferences, folks. We can all get along. So Star Wars Outlaws. I am excited for this one. I still have my reservations, but I'm going to be showcasing that on the channel. Also, Black Myth. I'm excited for that one. Space Marine 2. Metaphor. Delta Force. I'm actually really excited to try that one for multiplayer, especially since it's free. Mecha Break, I'm also quite excited for that one. I just got a taste of Armored Core 6, and give me some more. We're going to be having also Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. Looked really, really good. Last Descendant is another game that looks fun, just a good one to kind of kill some time with. This one, too, I think is also going to be... Though they didn't say this time, but they did express it earlier that Last Descendant is going to be free to play. And then Dark and Darker, of course, get wrecked. And that'll be happening to me quite a bit when I play. And then Hyper Light Breaker. All of those actually looked pretty good. And then the PAL World update, which is nice. And then Monster Hunter Wilds. So quite a few. Definitely better than last year, in my opinion. There's more games I'm actually excited for. But again, I want to see the gameplay. So the showcase itself, it kept my attention for most of the time. Still, this was 2 hours, but it didn't quite feel like 2 hours, which was nice. It wasn't plastered with ads every, 10, 15 minutes. We still had some, like advertisements for DoorDash. We still had advertisements for the Samsung Gaming Hub, subscription service. We still had the showcase of monitors, special monitors and stuff, so they know PC gamers watch this. So there were still ads, but it didn't feel oversaturated. This too was at a faster pace. They just kept stuff moving, baby, and that was great. That's why I didn't feel like I was just sitting there for 2 hours. Most of the stuff that I did see was not overly extended. There wasn't as much stage time this time. There was a lot more just trailers clicking along, and it was nice. Like I said, it was a good pace. A lot of new stuff this year and new trailers, especially for indie stuff. But again, not a ton of gameplay, and that was frustrating. I would say for the indie side of things, there was more gameplay, and for the double and AAA stuff, there was more cinematic trailers. So Keighley at the beginning, which was also very kind of him, and he should address that, the layoffs and the studio closures of the industry. And that's something, too, we should remember during all of this, is we thought last year was bad, and it seems like this year is worse. And, it's tough losing your job. It's tough having this kind of turmoil, and we can also expect this to have negative results now for our games, and hopefully positive results later as we have the creation of new studios, some of the studios shrinking down and becoming more efficient in making some of these games with smaller budgets. Like Sony has announced that they want to have smaller budgets for their games because Spider-Man 2 is just too expensive for them, I think. And overall, I give the Summer GameFest 2024 a rating of a C+ and a B-, somewhere in there. Okay, it wasn't great. Again, I want to see the gameplay. I really that is what is going to sell me on a game. But and we got to see also a lot of repeats. So like PAL World Update, Monster Hunter, Phantom Zero we already saw, The Last Descendant, Kingdom Deliverance, Alan Wake 2, Dark and Darker, Hyper Light Breaker, Black Myth, Star Wars Outlaws. We already knew that a Harry Potter Quidditch game was coming. We already seen Metaphor, Space Marine 2, Batman Arkham Shadow. A lot of these, again, we had already heard about, already seen, even trailers on. So kind of the hype was missing from that. And I think there's going to have to be in order for these showcases to stay relevant, there's going to have to be a balance. And I would rather have the balance shift toward keeping stuff locked down until your big announcement. But that's going to be tough, as basically every single company has leakers now, which is frustrating. So personally, the leaks I don't engage with. I want to see what the company is going to show me, and that makes the showcases more interesting too. If you're someone that keeps up with all of the leaks and rumors, showcases aren't going to be as relevant. But this one, was nice. Something too that was nice with the showcase is that there was no 30-minute pre-game show. Just didn't have it this time, and I thought that was great. They also had announced right after Summer Game Fest that they had excuse me. Apologies for that. They also had the Day of the Devs, which is going to be for an hour, and that was right after Summer Game Fest. I did not watch that. I'm here for the bigger stuff. The rest of it's going to show up in headlines, going to show up in news, all of that kind of stuff. And then once a week, I bring it to you here with Gaming News Consolidated, which that will be coming out shortly. So thanks for tuning in, folks. You can always follow me at Gaming Garbage 22, also over at Twitch. Don't turn on the, and also Don't forget our Discord, not just to chat and mingle, but also to find others to play with, regardless of game, regardless of platform. And hopefully, we can actually have some of these games actually be a part of the channel and actually play with some of you guys. I think that would be a blast. We used to have that. That used to be a normal thing, a multiplayer, being able to play and build community and have chatty lobbies and people talking, and it just felt good, and I would love to just be able to bring that back. I will also be having I already did the PlayStation Showcase, so that's out on the channel already. That's at the beginning or at the end of May. So just scroll back a little bit. You'll be able to find it. I'll try to remember to link that in the description. And then Xbox Showcase is literally in a couple of days. Also, Ubisoft is going to be in 3 days. I'm going to cover that one as well. And then Nintendo Direct or whatever is going to be at the end of June. We'll be covering that too. So stay tuned for all of that, as we're going to be busy here with all of this kind of stuff. And then continued things that we've been doing on the channel. And if you do guys enjoy the channel, don't just like and sub and all that. I do appreciate that. It's a free way to support the channel, of course. And I think sometimes the algos hate me because of some of the words I choose to say. I am not a fan of being censored, and I don't think we should ever be comfortable with censorship. But also share the content with folks too. That helps out too. And I just appreciate for those of you that do that. So hopefully you guys are doing well. Stay safe out there. We're still in tornado season, and hurricane season is going to be brewing up here in a few months. So just make sure you're preparing for that wherever you are in the world. Just be safe out there and continue to play games, continue to enjoy them, and continue to vote with your money. I'll see you guys on the next one.